right, now let's start executing the workflow from the very beginning. So at first, as you see that if I click on execute workflow, then it will actually show me that problem running workflow. Why? Because as you can see, some of the nodes are actually showing the error signs. Okay. And if I hover on the error icon, then it shows me that credentials for bearer auth are not set. Okay. So the thing that happens is that the bearer or token actually gets created from this node, and we actually dynamically pass data from this node or output from this node into here and set it as the bearer auth credential. Okay, and this thing is actually a one-time process. You do not have to do it every single time whenever you are trying to run the N8N workflow. So once you will figure this out and click on save, then afterwards it's gonna get easier for you, or it's gonna get saved for you. So for that, how we can actually move on? Let me zoom out a little bit. And starting from the third one and to the end, let me select all of them, right click, and at first, let me just deactivate those. So those nodes are deactivated. Now, instead of executing the workflow fully, let's enter each node and execute one after another. So I will double click to enter here, and I will click on listen for test event. So now it's actually waiting to get the submission from my. So this is my workspace configurations are. So my workspace name is Anything Test Automation. I have lake houses, multiple warehouses. I also have some Fabric notebooks and with the table information. All right. Now let me enter each of the nodes at first. Let's execute each of the nodes separately. So let's enter the node and then click on listen for test events. And now let me go to my preview and submit and click on submit and provision. As you can see, the configuration submitted successfully, and I got all the necessary information from the from my Fabric Forge. But I will actually hide, blur the information because this contains some sensitive information relevant to my IP address, my computer address, and so on. And on the top, as you can see, it actually contains several output views. So one output view is a schema view. We have a table view, and we have the JSON view. So I really like working with the JSON view. Now you can actually go back to Canvas to go to the second one, or you can just click on the second item. So now I'm in the second item, and I actually have created a JavaScript code that actually takes all the output from the last item as an input and cleans those up and only provides us with the relevant information. So if I click on execute step, then you'll see that I only have the relevant information. Now let's go to the second step. So in the initial auth, it will actually generate the bearer access token based on my relevant information. So if I click on execute step, then we'll see I got the bearer access token. Now, in the next step, I will actually send the access token dynamically. Okay, I will actually set the information dynamically. So here in the bearer auth, we have selected the generic auth type is bearer auth, and here we actually have to provide the access token. So let me click on the edit button, and here let me go to the make sure to select the expression. So expression actually works like dynamic. So expression actually enables us to dynamically send or get values from other items or other nodes. So I will click on the this button, so it will actually open fully. And now I can see that it's actually getting the access token from the previous step. But it will actually create a problem going forward. And I will show you what the problem will be. So basically what is happening is that the bearer or auth account, it's actually saved. It's actually a saved credential. Okay. And this will work for this step, but it will not work for the other steps. Okay. So let me show you why. So let me activate some of these nodes. Now I'll go into the check existing workspace, execute step. And now I'll go to the next one and click on execute step. So it's basically showing us that the workspace we're trying to create, the status is created. So this means we are safe to create the workspace. Now we will go to the, so we are actually taking the status, and if it exists, then it will go to the true path. And if it does not exist, then it will go to the false path. And now as we have the status as create, then it will actually go to the false path. So you see the false branch. Now I will go to the create workspace. And here, if I click on execute step, you will see it's showing us error invalid token, something like that. So why it is happening? So let's go to the edit section and let's go to the full view. And basically, it's not able to get the access token from the previous step. Okay. So whenever the code is something like JSON.access token, it's actually referring the immediate previous step. And as our immediate previous step is the workspace status and it does not contain any type of access token item. So that is why it's actually showing undefined. So what we actually need to do, we have to go to the initial auth, and instead of this thing, I will delete it. And the double curly brackets is actually needed because all the expression is actually work based on JavaScript code. And I will just I will just provide the access token. Now, as you can see, it's referring to the specific node that is initial auth, and it's actually taking an item. It's actually taking a JSON item that is access token. And now we have the result. So this is the fix, and this is actually a one-time fix. You do not have to do it over and over again. Now, if I click on execute step, then as you can see, the workspace has been created. Let's do one thing. Let's zoom out and let's activate all other nodes. So we were here. Let's go to the next step. Let's try. So it also got created. Next step, we got our relevant information done. Prepare lake houses. So we are actually getting the lake houses we need to create with the relevant table and notebook information. And now we actually need to apply the loop. So whenever we have the loop, so it's actually better approach to click on the final step of the loop. So basically this one. So let's play it. So for some reason, the lake house did not get created. So let's see what is the problem. Showing the credential not found. So as you can see, it's actually showing error. Why? Because for the lake houses, we are actually generating token, right? As I mentioned in my explanation video. So I must have to provide this specific token to the lake house to create it, basically in the bearer auth account. So let's create new credential, and let's name it for item creation. All right. And let's go to the expression and take it like the exact previous step. And this will actually work. All right. This will actually work. So let me go back to Canvas and click on process results now. So now it's actually properly working. Now let's go to the aggregate result part. Now let's see the lakehouse results. So as you can see, the lakehouse created sales lakehouse and then gold lakehouse. And we also have another lakehouse that is, I think, LH only. Okay. So we have created all our lakehouse, and other information is also there. Now let's check for the warehouses, and you have to select the bearer auth account here. Execute step, done. There is actually no warehouse. For warehouse status check. So these are the warehouse we need. Now, if we click on the if, then it's going to the false path, preparing the warehouse. And now again, if let's go to the create warehouse and make sure, yeah, it's selected for item creation. So it will work properly. So instead of clicking on this, let's click on aggregate. So the loop is gonna play completely. So the warehouses has been created. So let's see. Great. Now let's go to the final response and see what it returns. All right. So all is well. Now let's get the workspace info again. Let me activate these nodes. Workspace info. Oh, sorry, I have to select the bearer auth account. So we have our workspace info and it's showing completed. This means the workspace has been created. Now let's see the necessary items we have and make sure to select the bearer auth account. So these are the necessary items we have: the sales lakehouse, gold lakehouse, LH only, staging warehouse. Oh, these are semantic model for the warehouses. So all the things are actually properly created, but now we actually need to create the notebooks. So let's go to the notebook to create, execute step. So it will basically show us the notebooks we need to create. Okay. So LH table creator and then LH gold analytics. Now let me show you one thing and let me explain. So as you can see, the LH table creator is attached with sales lakehouse and also it has the table information. Similarly, LH Gold Analytics is attached with the Gold LH and it has some table information. But LH only does not have any notebook attached or any table information. So that is why we are only getting the two information or two notebook information. Now let's move on to the if else branch. So it will go to the false. And now if I click on aggregate notebook results, so it will basically create notebooks. Oh, 1 minute. Let me select the credential not found. It should work. Let me try again. Notebook creation here also. Let me try again. Let's see. Success, and we got the success. Okay, so now the notebook has been created. So if this type of error happens, even though for the creation you have the for item creation bearer auth, just try again in the aggregate notebook results. So it will eventually work. Okay. Now let's see the necessary items. And for this, make sure to select the bearer auth account. Now, these are all the items we have now created. Now we actually have to map the lake houses with the appropriate notebooks. So when I'm running this code, this actually mapping the lake house with the notebook. Now the final step, we are going to create the based on the table definition or the GPT is going to create the PySpark code. It will send the PySpark code to each of the notebooks, and then via a REST API call, the notebook will actually get updated. And via another REST API call, the notebook is going to get executed. And we are playing a loop. So because we have two notebooks, it's basically going to perform similar activities for both the notebooks. But before that, let me just share for item creation. All right. And here for item creation, I think for this one, I need the bearer auth token. Now let's see what happens. So the GPT actually creating the PySpark code that is going to clean the PySpark code and send it to the different notebook, and it's going to execute the notebook. So now if I go to my Power BI, let me do a refresh. Let me try to find the workspace. Here it is, N18 test automation. And here, as you can see, we have all our lakes warehouses ready. And we also have the notebook. So let's see the notebook. So as you can see, the PySpark code is already there. It's dynamically generated by ChatGPT, and also the appropriate lakehouse has been attached with the notebook. And if I show you the recent runs, then as you can see, it's showing success. Now let's go to the SQL endpoint for the sales LH Lakehouse. And here, if I go to the tables and then orders, then you can see that table structure is already created in the Lakehouse. And as I mentioned earlier, that this whole debugging process is actually one-time process. Now let me click on save. Let me go back to my sales lakehouse and let me delete the workspace. All right. Now I actually need no. So let me just click on clear execution and let me just start execute flow. So let me trigger it. Done. Now here, see the magic. And there you go. The whole debugging process is actually a one-time process. Once you figure out or debug the whole workflow for your needs based on your capacity, your IDs, then you are actually good to go. It's actually a flawless execution. Now let me go back to my Power BI, do a quick refresh, go to workspace, and latent test automation. And here, as you can see, we have all our warehouses. And if I go to the SQL endpoint for the Lakehouse, then just like before, we have our table structure ready for us. So I hope you learned a lot in this playlist, and I'm really hoping and excited to see you guys working with the workflow, setting it up for your needs and provisioning the Fabric workspace as you go. Thank you very much. If you have any comments, if you have any confusion, any problem you need fixing, you need help with, please let me know in the comments and I will be very glad to help you with all your problems. Thank you so much.